Chloe.
And yes, we do make money on Instagram.
No, every episode needs to start with Chloe's cackle. Thank you. Now tell the moneymakers what we're doing.
Hey, moneymakers. Welcome back to another episode of Yes, I Make Money. If you've been missing out, this season's theme is the next generation of moneymakers. And we are talking about how some of our favorite humans are making money online in a brand new way and how social media and the online space have impacted various industries. And so today we are thrilled to have our friend Lindsay of One Girl Wandering with us to talk about the travel industry. Lindsay is a full-time solo travel blogger and has, in my opinion, revolutionized what this industry is. She has had a huge impact on my life. I'm going on my second trip with her. She's a fantastic host. She truly cares so much about her community. She shows up day in and day out, and I am so glad that we caught her while she's home very briefly to record this episode. So, Lindsay, I'm going to hand it over to you. Tell us more.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna make me cry.
Good, that's my job.
So I'm Lindsay. I go by the handle One Girl Wandering on like basically all social media. And my mission in life is to empower women to travel more. I want them to stop waiting on other people, and I want them to get out there and explore the world and really discover more about themselves by discovering the world around them. So yay.
And I can confirm, as someone who has gone on Lindsay's trip and then gone on multiple solo trips, you accomplished that mission. I mean, I learned more about myself in the 2 weeks that I ended up traveling. I went to Scotland with Lindsay for 1 week, where she took care of me while I was deathly ill.
I love that story.
So let's tell the story really quick. So the story was the Queen died.
Literally.
I'm sorry, I should laugh.
Sickened.
I should laugh.
We're so bad.
It was just very surprising. It was unexpected death.
The Queen dies 2 days before we're all supposed to leave. And I am freaking out because I had extended my trip, which is another really cool thing about people who travel with Lindsay. A lot of people extend their trip. They go a few days before, they stay a few days after. I stayed a full week after. And so Queen dies and I'm working and I hadn't seen it yet. And my phone is blowing up. And I'm like, why is my phone blowing up? And everyone's like, oh my God, did you see the Queen just died? What are you going to do? And I'm like, fuck me. And so the joke was, we somehow weaseled our way, as Americans do, to the front of the Edinburgh funeral procession. We went down some shady ass staircase and across some shady ass train tracks and just ended up at the front. I mean, and it was fantastic. And of course, we're right in front of the sniper, and all these people around us are like freaking out. They're like, oh my God, do you see the gun? And we're like, there's only one gun.
America problems.
American problems, right? Because if like Biden was coming down the street, there would be like a sniper on every roof. There was literally one sniper.
Lots more guns.
Lots more guns. And so we see Charles and we see Camilla, and I shit you not, 5 hours later, I started shitting.
Shit you not.
Shit you not.
She started shitting. And now I don't travel without Pepto. I don't travel without Imodium. I learned a lot. And poor Lindsay walked into my room in the middle of the madness, and I there are not enough apologies to go around for what was experienced in that room.
We had to deliver you crackers.
And that was all I ate for 3 days. I swear I lost 10 pounds in 3 days because I couldn't keep anything down besides the few crackers. But
and if that doesn't convince you to come on one of my group trips, I don't know what will.
But you know what? Here's the thing. You took care of me. You didn't go off and gallivant. You were like, fuck, I need to make sure Emma doesn't fucking die. And you know, I did not. And I think that's such a testament to how amazing you are at your job, because I watched you make time for every single person. I was the youngest person on the trip. Oldest person on the trip was like 75, and you made time to connect with every single person and make it such an enjoyable experience for everyone. I could just gush about you all day, and that's why I'm going on a second trip of yours. So enough about me shitting my pants in Scotland. Let's talk about how you got started on this journey. What was the catalyst for you to not just launch one? Well, actually, did One Girl Wandering launch when you went on your first solo travel trip, or were those two separate things?
Origin story.
I went on my first solo trip, and my Instagram was like a personal account. It wasn't like I was like going to be like, I'm going to make a business out of this. So I was just sharing my solo travel and then any other trips I was taking on my personal Instagram. And I had friends and family who were like, you should start a blog. None of them have blogs. None of them know how hard it is to actually start a blog. And I took that advice and decided to start a blog. So that's kind of how it came about, is I started sharing just my travels and like things that I was interested in. And I had poor advice from friends and family who were like, you should start a blog. And so I just decided to do that. I started a website, and then it's just kind of snowballed starting from there into like a business, which I didn't even know you could have a business in this. It wasn't, I went back to my my high school this past April, and they had me talk as part of their career day.
Hell yeah.
And I was sitting around and I was talking to these wonderful high schoolers. I went to an all-girls boarding school, by the way. And I was telling them, I was like, look, you don't know what your career is going to be, you know, like 10, 20 years from when you graduate, because like this wasn't a career path. There was no content creators. This wasn't a thing. Influencer wasn't a thing. So just like keep yourself open to opportunities that may unexpectedly arise, because you may find a totally different industry than what you originally thought you were going to be in.
I love that.
So
and
true.
I really hope, and I think it would take a lot, but I really hope social media is something that starts being talked about in schools. Like, I think it would be so cool to have an elective where you learn about building social media businesses. Like, I know one of my personal goals is to teach a college class on like how to do this, manifesting after I get married. That's the hope. But okay, so talk to us about your initial monetization process and how that has grown and evolved over time.
So when I first realized that this could possibly be a business, and when I decided to take it seriously, it was probably in like the summer of 2019. And I decided I was like, am I going to make this a thing, or is this going to continue to be a hobby? So I started taking courses, because I was like, I don't want to figure this out of myself. Like that's way too hard. And I basically like threw myself into trying to get education, trying to find out from other people how they were making money. And then I realized that like, there are so many different ways to make money online. Like, especially with content creation and travel, like you can do brand deals, and like by that you can like work with people who actually have a physical product. You can work with people who are on properties or tourism boards. You can create your own materials. Like I could create trip guides or resources, all sorts of stuff that you can just like digital products you can sell online. You can create courses. I created a course on travel hacking. And then, you know, there's just so much that you can do. And like group trips ended up being like one of my favorite ways that I've been able to make money online, because it's fantastic. I have so much fun with it. But yeah, there's tons of ways that you can make money online. And for me, it was like trying to figure out like, what do I want to do? Like, where is like the Venn diagram of like things that'll make me money and things that I truly love and enjoy.
Oh,
that right there, I want to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the intersection for you? What have you found brings you the most joy? Because I think that there will always be this stigma around money and women talking about money. And that is part of the reason that we have this podcast. We want women to come on here and talk about money. And I think we all have to play a role in destigmatizing money and stop acting like money can't buy happiness, because like I know my money has bought my happiness in going on a trip with you, in staying an extra week to go to London. Money's about to buy Chloe and I happiness because we're going on a trip to London together. So like I do really think it's bullshit that when like people say money can't buy you happiness, it literally fucking can. So
especially when it's spent on trips and drinks. You
don't need anything else. So what really has been that intersection for you of like where money makes you happy?
Well, I also just want to say that I also feel that the influencer industry, because it is so dominated by women, that people like to shit on it
Yes.
because of that. And they don't like the fact that we are out there creating our own products, doing our own thing, and making money from it as women, and we're empowered. Like I some of the things that I read about influencers, you would never say that about a photographer or a videographer or a writer or anything like that, is such bullshit. So anyway, the intersection of, for me, like what brings me joy, what brings me happiness, and like how I make money. So obviously group trips are like the best thing I've ever done with my brand ever. I absolutely love it. I love not only being able to like plan trips, because that's a real strong point for me, but I am able to give my audience a tangible thing that they can go do to travel more without waiting on anyone. If you don't have anyone that you can travel with, you can sign up for one of my group trips and I will travel with you. And that's really when I realized that my mission wasn't necessarily like solo travel in the sense that you are completely by yourself out there in the world, but that you are traveling more without waiting on other people. So group trips has been just like this wonderful thing that I've been able to do, where I get to help women do exactly what I want them to do, which is get out there and travel more without being held back by waiting for their friends, waiting for their family, waiting for their significant other to find the time, the PTO, whatever, to go do that. So group trips is huge for me. My other favorite thing is I absolutely love working with tourism boards. And the reason I love working with tourism boards is because a lot of people, when they hear the word tourist, they're immediately turned off. But tourism boards are focused on local businesses, local experiences, and hidden gems. And I love going to a destination and having the experience and the guidance that a tourism board brings to help me really showcase a destination, and also all the local experiences and businesses that you might not find on like those top 10 lists.
Now, my question for you, because it sounds like you already had the passion for it, but where we come in sometimes is like the money making side is showing that you know what you're doing, like kind of having the backup, like the resume. So my question for you is, what came first? Trips, like hosting trips, or did you have to find somebody first? Like what was the process of like having that? It's a two-parter. Of course, all my questions are two-parters. What gave you that sense of like authority, or of what was that path?
Well, so back in 2021, I was approached by a salesperson from Trova Trip, and they're the people that I partner with on my group trips. They're a company that is specifically designed to match people like myself who have an online community with local operators to host these trips for their community. And when they first approached me, one, I thought it was spam.
Don't we all? We all think the
was
big
like,
opportunities are spam.
Always. It's an immediate, like, huh?
Me?
Yeah. So I very much ignored the email. And then when I finally took the call from them, I was like, very much like, this is going to be like an MLM. This is going to be something that just like isn't, it's not going to be what, I had a lot of preconceived notions about what it was going to be, because I've had companies reach out to me with a similar sort of thing, but it wasn't this, which is very much like, we want you to have this experience with your community. We want you to grow with your people. We want you to have like just the best time. It's so hard to describe because these trips are just awesome. So when I got that email and I took the call, at first I was like, no one's going to want to travel with me. I'm a solo travel blogger. Like, I'm telling people to go out there by themselves. Like, why would they join a group trip? But I put it out to my community and I said, hey, are you interested in this? Because I have gotten DMs where people are like, oh my gosh, I would love to travel with you. And I didn't really think that that was a thing. So I put it out to the community, and overwhelmingly, my community was like, yeah, this is something we're interested in. So I started putting together my first trip with Trova Trip, which was Costa Rica. And it confirmed the same day that I launched it, which confirming means that the trip has made the minimum number of travelers required in order to run the trip. And it ended up selling out. And I was very shocked. But really that just sort of became like my prime example, because I feel like once I had that trip, I had, the people who went on it, who loved it, who gave me really solid reviews, who signed up for more trips after that. I was able to show that like, I can be a good host. Like you can come with me, a
You're a
stranger on the internet.
fantastic host.
Thank you. So yeah, so that kind of just started to show that, like, I don't know, social proof, I guess, that like you could come on one of these trips, you know, I'm a stranger from the internet. You can trust me. You can trust the other strangers you're going with. It sounds so sketchy. It really does. It's like everything your parents tell you not to do.
But we do it.
But we do
Yes.
it anyway.
So, and now I've hosted 7 trips so far. I've got 4 more this year.
Sheesh.
I know.
Booked and busy.
It's the best though. It really is. And then I've got 3 so far that are live right now, for next year, with more on the way. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
And I, from a back end perspective, one of the things I want to mention is that Lindsay is very aware of her community and is very money conscious for her community, which I think is something that is super special. There's another influencer I follow who is running essentially the same trip that we went on to Scotland, and it's about $1,000 more. And I remember Lindsay talking about how she was shopping around for dates because she wanted to make this trip accessible. And I know Antarctica is something that's on your bucket list. Frankly, it's on mine too. And the price is, going to Antarctica is expensive.
You're going to Antarctica. That's why.
Yeah.
It's what you would think it would cost. And so I, vividly remember you coming into the Slack community and being like, hey, this is the trip. And I know you all want to do it. This is also the price tag. And a lot of people were like, if you give me 2 years to save up for this, I'm fucking in. And just the awareness that you have of your community and the support that you show towards your community is so impactful. I mean, we literally have a group trip. We have a group chat from Scotland. There's 5 of us, and we call ourselves 5 Girls Frolicking, which
Yes.
I remember saying this for the first time, and Lindsay was cackling. I was like, no one's given you that before? And she was like, no. I was like, okay, we're 5 Girls Frolicking. And all 5 Girls Frolicking are going on the Christmas markets trip. And I'm rooming with one of the 5 Girls Frolicking. And it's just so cool because I know that when we decide to go out and party every night, because we will, you have a squad to go out with. And that squad was solidified night 1. We ended up all getting drinks together in the rain on Princess Street in Edinburgh. And it just we all started pouring our hearts out to each other and just talking about our deepest, darkest things. And it just felt like you had known these people forever. And I think that's just a testament to the type of community Lindsay built. So if you are thinking about going on one of her trips,
Oh my gosh.
just know you are going to find people that are just
I know.
I already almost started crying too.
Well,
I
I think
Yeah.
what it is because travel is one of those things that so many it's one of those things that so many people connect so much emotion to. And travel is so special, and whenever you're in a new place with someone that you've never met before, and that's the only person you kind of have to hold on to of okay, we're doing this together. Wow, it's it's an insane phenomenon. But I would love to hear my brain is so many questions for you, Lindsay, because holy shit. But I would love to hear essentially what your tactics were of, okay, I want to do this trip. It's your first time, right? We're talking first time. I want to do this trip. I got somebody Trova Trip's on the thing. How did you sell? How did you go out and find the people? What was that process like?
Honestly, it was one of the easiest things I've ever had to sell because I basically was inviting people to come with me.
Right.
And that just felt so natural and so easy. But one of the things, and how I met Emma was from a retreat that I did, and she was a virtual speaker, and she blew my mind with engagement.
As she does.
And I realized, one, I love having conversations in my DMs with people. I will spend way too much time just talking to members of my community and connecting. And I realized that I wasn't necessarily doing that from a place of, I didn't have an end goal. I was just talking with people. So getting more clarity from listening to Emma and also taking her course. Please say the course name because I cannot remember.
The Engagement Academy.
Thank you. I took that, and I took that as not like a social media manager or anything like that. I took it just because I was like, I want to know more about like how I can have conversations that are genuine, but they also lead to results for my business. And so I just was able to connect with people and talk to them about this trip and, basically address a lot of their fears head on through tactics that I got from Emma. And it's something that I've continued to use to like make sure that because I mean, you have to trust
Emma, pat
me.
yourself on the back.
I'm trying not to cry.
We're just gonna cry today. But I mean, it's just like you have to trust me because you're going to be traveling with me for a week. You're giving me lots of money. You're giving me, most importantly, your time. And you have to know kind of like who I am, what I'm about, and I have to make sure that you feel comfortable. So that's been like a really big thing for me, especially as I've continued to host trips. I've set up my Slack community. I am way more supportive of my trips now than I was with my first year. And it's not because I didn't love those people as much as I do. It's just because I didn't know. So like now, in addition to like, you get to go on a trip, you get to have this awesome experience leading up to the trip. I am now taking care of people because one of the things I realized is I have a lot of people who choose to travel with me. And I'm very humbled by this, that this is either their first time out of the country or it is their first time traveling big international by themselves. And I want to make sure that they don't let anxiety or fear get in the way of taking that leap. And so I have to be present and supportive from like the moment that they put down their deposit to the moment that they arrive like in the country and start the trip with me. So like,
and that's why they love you. That's why you are that's why I was like, this is the person. Whenever I think of someone that I want to go on a trip with, you are instantly the top of my list because you've set this standard for yourself that anybody I hear, I'm like, oh, you went on a trip with Lindsay? I know it was the best thing ever, right? I've never been, no, but I know it was the best thing ever.
I will say too, just another note on you taking care of your community, and why we're talking so much about this is we want you all to understand how important this is and how long of a way this goes. Yeah. 2 hours before I left for the airport, I had a mentee bee, like a full-on mentee bee, was crying with Luke, and I was like, holy shit, I am leaving for 2 weeks by myself.
And there was a lot going on that time too.
There was a lot happening at that time. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck am I doing? And then I thought about the fact that like when I got to the airport, Lindsay was going to be there. And I was like, you know what? This is someone that I really appreciate as a person, that I see as a friend, and that I'm going to just get to grow a relationship with over the next week. And I had already, virtually met some of the other women that were going, and I was like, I'm going to be okay. And it was because Lindsay had set this standard of, even if I don't know the place, we're going to all figure it out together and it's all going to be fine. And if shit hits the fan, we're going to figure it out. We sat in traffic for 7 hours on a bus. And guess what? No one killed each other. Why? Because Lindsay was like, you know what? It is what it is. And we're going to get back and we're going to go get drunk. And we did. And it was fabulous. And it literally, like, that last night in Scotland is forever a core memory for me. For those of you who've seen that dancing video of me that I've posted a million times, like, Lindsay took that. That was our last night in Scotland. And it is one of the most important memories that I will hold dear forever. And so if you are questioning whether or not group travel is for you, stop questioning it, because it's the fucking greatest thing ever. Before we all cry more,
God.
I want to ask the infamous question that everybody asks, which is, you're married. What does your husband think of all of this?
Oh my gosh. My husband is incredible. He's so supportive. He's so sweet. When I went on my first solo trip, and I went after, there's a lot of people, they solo travel and then they continue to do it after they've gotten into a relationship. For me, I started solo traveling after I got married. And he was just so supportive of the entire thing. He was the one who was like, I want you to take the big camera with you. And then I discovered a love of photography while I was like out traveling. Like, he was like, I want you to go do this. And one of the like sweetest things he's ever said, and it's actually like I have a highlight, it's a very old highlight on my Instagram that's like a wedding ring emoji plus solo travel. And it's like him and me like addressing questions from like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years ago. It's very
I
old.
remember that. I remember when you guys did that.
Oh, yeah. So someone asked like, I can't remember, but a similar line of questioning. And he said that he never wanted me to miss out on anything in life because of him. So he never wanted to like hold me back. And I was just like,
God, stop.
I know.
No, we're all crying now.
Yeah. So he's been wonderfully supportive. And then he's also the one who was like, he's like, you can do it. You can take this business full time. Like you can be successful at this. Like he probably saw that before me. He was the one who told me, like, when I started doing my group trips, he's like, I told you like 2 years ago that you should be doing this. And I was like, what? I was like, of course I blocked that out. But he's one who's like always been supportive and always like thinks that I can achieve whatever I put my mind to. And like this business is like, I don't know, if he's just wonderful and like he's
A
just rooting for
gem
me.
of a man. We
Honestly,
love our supportive Kens. We do.
Out of every parasocial relationship I have, Taha is my favorite one. Like I cannot wait for the day that I eventually get to meet Taha because I'm obsessed with that man. And I just like, I think he's so freaking cool. Taha also has a really cool job, by the way, but this is not a podcast episode about Taha, but he's really cool. Has a cool job and is just the most supportive.
I have a question that's going to put us back on direction so we don't cry. Okay. I believe in
ma'am.
us.
Please do.
So you mentioned there are so many ways to make money online. I need to know. So specifically with the theme of what we're trying to talk about, the next generation of money makers. This is a way to make money online. Is this travel? So two-part question because that's how Chloe asks them. One, what have you seen in the trends since you were here pre-pandemic? That's kind of like everything to like, pre 2019. I'm like, well, a lot has changed. So what have you seen in like the trends of, positive to set yourself up to be able to make money doing this? And two, do you see like what are the cons of social media? What are the things you're looking out for? Like sometimes I worry, like, are there too many cooks in the kitchen when it comes to these trips? Because then it's like, what if I went on a bad trip? So I would love to hear.
People have, if you read the Trova Trip reviews, people have. But you know what? People never say they've gone on a bad trip with Lindsay. Never.
No,
not one.
So yeah, I want to hear like social, like like social media and like marketing trends. Like what is going around? Like what have you seen in your time? And then have you seen any positives and negatives? All that.
And I want to add to this, and we don't have to name names unless we want to be extra salty, but I think it's important for the people to know, and Lindsay, I would love your take on this, that Trova Trip is pretty much open to any creator. There is I've been approved to become a Trova Trip host, and it's something that I want to do down the line. Now I'm getting married, so I can't do it right now. But there have been people from The Bachelor, for example, who have been Trova Trip hosts. And I would assume that the experience you have with them as your host is going to be quite different than the experience you'd have with Lindsay. So I just want to add that somewhere into the explanation and your take on that without dissing anyone unless you want to spill some tea.
Yeah. Lindsay, answer those 15 questions. Thanks.
Okay, let's see. Let's start off. Trends pre and post pandemic. Well, yeah, I would definitely say that like I feel now that there are a ton of people who are running group trips, like whether that be with Trova Trip or a different company or on their own. It's a huge thing. And I really feel like that came out of the pandemic because people were seeking connection, people were seeking travel, and like these two things really married those needs and wants coming out of a very isolating, sad, depressing, stationary, staring at the same wall day in and day out. So I feel like that has really taken off, and I believe it is pandemic driven in part. The other thing that's taken off is definitely UGC. That's like the hottest thing ever. And it's like not like UGC hasn't been around. It's just that now we have a name for it, because before they were basically asking for an album of, if you're working with a hotel, you're working with basically any brand, they would ask for a few photos rights free that they could use. Advertisement, website, social media, whatever. That's UGC. Now we just have a name for it, and now you can package that exclusively. So I think that's also really great because a lot of people who maybe don't have the larger audience, but have the talent and the skills are able to then utilize them to work with these brands. And I also really love it because there's like brands out there that I might not necessarily show to my audience because they maybe aren't travel related, or maybe they're just uninterested, but I'm interested in them and I would love to make content for them. So I'm able to do that and work with them in a way that I then don't have to necessarily show them to my community, but I get to, showcase them for their community. So I love that. I love to be able to do that because I also don't want to be a billboard. And I feel like pre-pandemic, if you wanted to make money, the way that you made money is by doing more ads. And then by doing more ads, you look like a billboard. And then
Fab, fit, fun.
You lose that.
Fab, fit, fun. Fab, fit, fun.
So it's so much nicer that you can still work with brands, you can still create content for them, but you don't have to necessarily put it on your feed. Like, I really like that.
What about digital products? I want to throw that in there because you said digital products, guides and stuff.
Gosh, I feel like right now the course market is super, super saturated. Just from like an outsider's perspective, I don't know how it is.
It has been the year of the courses, let me tell you.
So yeah, so that's kind of how I feel. So I did a course a couple years ago for travel hacking. I would love to eventually update that and all the time that I have between doing work and sleeping. But there's a ton of courses, and I think now because we have so many platforms, it's so much easier. And you can basically, anyone, if you have knowledge of anything, you can put it out there and you can sell it, you can monetize it. So there's a ton of courses out there.
Yeah, it's like I feel like at this point it's like if you know what you know and you know it well, put it out there.
Yeah, I had a really, really good piece of advice that was given to me by a friend. And he said, you don't need to be an expert. You just need to be one step ahead.
Ooh. That helps me every single day.
Yeah.
That thinking. Now, but here's slippery slope. So tell me about, because I mean, of course, like I can only imagine like really getting someone inexperienced as my group host. Like, tell me like the slippery slope bad ends of this.
So, and this is actually something that I am working with Trova Trip on, because I definitely see that there are people who want to host group trips, but maybe they either don't have the right intention or they don't have an understanding about what it means to actually be a host. So I am actually working with Trova Trip on host mentorship. Now, mind you, we can.
Hell yes, you are.
I can make courses, I can make documents, I can make resources, but I can't make people read them.
Best thing ever.
But I want them to be available to those who really want to be a host, really want to engage and connect with their community, and are here for like the right reasons for hosting. So there's that. But I don't fault Trova Trip or any of the other companies that do similar hosting group trip stuff from not turning people away. Like it's
travel. You want it to be accessible. I totally I want travel to be accessible for everybody. Like I've only been out of the country like a handful of times, and like I feel like that's like the typical. Well, I'm trying.
Don't worry, we're changing it in 2 months.
I finally get to go to Europe. Like I've crossed off Asia. I like went like way across the I was like, I'm gonna go over here first. But I feel like we want travel to be accessible, but we also have to realize, I will say like one of the most fearful things is to be in a foreign country with someone that does not know what the hell is going on. It is terrifying. And so it's so interesting to me. Like, don't get me wrong, I want to host a trip someday, but do I feel qualified? Do I feel like, what is my intention behind it? Of course I want to make money and get a free trip out of it. But do I also have the capabilities of hosting upward? I mean, like, how big is the biggest trip you've ever hosted?
25.
Like being responsible for 25 humans in a foreign country?
Well, okay, you also have to remember, you have your local guide with you.
Right.
And everybody's an adult.
Yes.
Emma, Everybody is an
I
adult, but
know.
we're stupid. Especially if
I
you get a few
know.
drinks in me that are a different ABV because they know how to make it in Europe. And I tell you what, I was not an adult when I was drinking sake in Japan. I forgot that I was an adult.
You know, or if
So-
people get sick, like, you know, it happens.
Mhm.
Hi, it was me.
Mhm.
Like, you know, I was the problem in Scotland. It was me.
It's me.
Yes, I will say that
Yeah.
there are advantages to traveling with someone like myself who is a
Mhm.
professional traveler, and who also has a system set up now for support for my travelers as they're moving through the process of getting ready for the trip. Versus if you're just going to go with someone who is from The Bachelor, or, you know, maybe isn't someone who is as well traveled. But I mean, Trova Trip does put as many things in place, and most companies do, where you have someone who is local so that your host can focus on things like being a good human being and interacting with people and, you know, creating community, creating things. I like to call myself the bringer of the vibes. So, you know, so you're able to like do that. You know,
I
it's
love that.
She really
Bringer of
does.
the vibes.
What are your thoughts on I mean, there's a lot of group travel options.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts, pros and cons to companies like Trova Trip who have just 18 plus, and then companies that typically have like a 40 cutoff?
See, this is one of the great things that I absolutely love about group travel is that there are so many companies out there that even if you don't go with someone like me, or you don't sign up with like a trip that has a host, there's so many companies out there that you will be able to like find your vibe and find like a trip that works for you, whether or not that's like premium luxury. If you are like, I want to go like the Abercrombie and Kent route, which is like super bougie, super luxury. Or if you want to do
Yeah.
Kentucky, which is basically like hostel party, like younger crowd. So I would say that like if you are looking to join a group trip, which I highly recommend, like I'm just a big proponent for group trips in general. They don't necessarily need to be with me or with Trova Trip. Is, you know, do a little bit of research about like what type of community those companies tend to attract. Because there's nothing worse than like, you know, if you sign up for a Kentucky trip and you're like me, you're in your late 30s and you're just like, I do not want to be in the club. I would like to be out of the club.
Although you can get down in the club. I've seen it.
I need to leave the club by 11 p.m. I will have the most fun in the club from 7 to 11.
Yeah,
And then I need to be out.
So, you know, picking a group trip that is going to support your travel style and your goals and like who you would like to surround yourself with, I think is like super important. And there are a ton of companies out there that you can choose from. That's kind of one of the great things about group travel.
I love.
Sexy.
Okay, I have a
love that.
question. I have a question that is going to be rapid fire to really finish us off. And essentially, I need, mostly for my own personal gains, because what is a podcast if not using it for your own personal gains? I need your like crash course in tips, tricks, suggestions, ways to move as a person that wants to post and make money by posting about travel. What's like crash course, you know, like off the top of your head?
Okay, so first I would recommend that you don't try to be like anyone else. That's like the biggest thing. There's so many travel influencers out there. There's so many travel content creators, but really like the part that resonates with people is showing the world from your perspective and what you like about it, and not necessarily, you know, hitting up like all the spots that every single other person does. Like for example, I've been to Paris, I think like 4 times now. I've never been to the top of the Eiffel Tower. It holds no appeal to me. Like, I just don't want to go to the top of it. Eventually I will, I suppose, but you know, that's kind of the way that I am. Like if you are not a museum person, going to a foreign country and going to a museum isn't going to suddenly turn you into a museum person. So like truly like when you are traveling, leaning into like what you love and what you enjoy and showcasing that is going to be so much more authentic than like just hitting up the hot spots that everyone else is hitting up. So I would recommend that first and foremost. My personal favorite medium on Instagram is stories. I love stories. I love doing stories.
And you're
I
so
love
good with
saving
your stories.
highlights.
Your stories
Yeah.
are so great.
people go back to my highlights for trips that I took like
Yes.
years ago and utilize them to plan their own trips. So I love telling stories. I love telling the story of a place. I never post in real time for a couple of reasons. One is like safety, and the other is because I like to get back from a trip. I like to sit down with like my entire content and like everything I've done, edit it, and also figure out like what was my journey, like what was my story of the place that I was in, and then sit down and craft that through my stories.
And
So-
that is why you do what you do, and you're so damn good at it.
Wow.
And it also
Like you're not
allows
just
you,
posting, this is cute.
it also allows you to really enjoy it in the moment. I know I really took that advice when I was solo in London, especially for safety, but I would wait to post until I got back to my Airbnb every night, and then kind of recap my day. And that felt so good. So I could keep my head out of my phone because posting, especially in a foreign country, that shit takes longer if you don't have an international plan. You're trying to find Wi-Fi, yada yada yada. So when you wait till you get back to your home base at the end of the night, like, you know, you're snapping your pics and then you're really present. And I think that's such great advice. And I will say too, it really did make me feel safer to not have everybody know where I was the entire day.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, it's just much more relaxing. And like, that's the thing is I never want this to feel like work. And I want to be able to enjoy the places that I go to. And I want to be able to enjoy the destinations and actually like have a vacation. Cause I think a lot of people assume that if you're a travel blogger, like you're spending the entire time with like your phone in your face or your camera in your face. And that's not true. Like I get my content in and then I like to just enjoy where I'm at and I don't have to worry about anything else.
I have
So-
such a vivid memory of you. It was when we first got onto Isle of Skye and we were at a castle. And I remember watching you seated on the lawn with your tripod and you were getting like this really cool shot. But then you put your camera down and you just sat there and you had, you know, we had the ocean on one side and the castle on the other. And Lindsay was just kind of taking it all in and everybody was kind of scattered about and like doing different things, looking at different things. And she just looked so peaceful and present and just happy to be there. And it was like, you could tell it was like a reset moment for her because we were probably, you know, a little over halfway through the trip. And you could tell that you were just taking it all in and enjoying that moment. No, it's just so
I wasn't
special.
even there and I'm
I
about
didn't
to
realize people were
cry.
spying on me while I was just enjoying that grass.
It was just some great grass.
It was really great grass.
There
It
is
was like
something
the
I want to talk about. I
perfect
know Chloe
lawn.
was like, wrap it up, but there is something I want to talk about, which is the Christmas markets trip.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Because this is for anybody that has been on trip with Trova Trip or is now very intrigued and is probably looking up Trova Trip as we're talking about this. Christmas markets was an itinerary that you created and it sold out in 3 minutes, I believe.
7.
Oh,
I think.
sorry.
I don't
Excuse
know.
me. 7.
Those extra 4 minutes, Emma.
Listen, I was
beat.
sitting
First
in
one
my
did. The
car.
first
I had
one
to
did.
pick up my sister from school, and
I
I'm
remember
sitting in
this.
my car. Oh my God, with my credit card. And I was like, nobody talk to me. I was like, my phone is on Do Not Disturb. Do not fucking contact me. My sister comes over and she opens the car door and she's like, is it done yet? And I was like, no, you need to wait. Don't talk to me. And like, thank God, got in. But I would love to hear and then tie into this. My two-parter here is how did this happen? Why this? How did you build such a trusting relationship with Trova Trip? And part 2 is, would you ever consider being a travel agent?
Ooh.
First off, no interest in being a travel agent. That's like too much work. I mean, bless the people who do, because that's a lot. But one of the things that I do like about the group trips is that I actually get to be on them to help problem solve. I would hate
True.
to be like woken up in the middle of the night because someone's like, the hotel that you supposedly booked for me is not up to my standards. So
Mood.
yeah, so I would much rather like be on the trip. So Trova Trip has been an incredible partner of mine. I have gotten a lot of trust from them through the trips that I've hosted, the feedback I've gotten on my trips from my travelers. And so it was basically, I think it was actually in Scotland. Well, I had started a few months before Scotland. I had been asking them like, hey, have you guys ever thought about doing a trip that is not just like a destination, but also for a particular thing that is happening, i.e. Christmas markets? And they're like, well, we have like a couple of itineraries that you could run during the Christmas markets. And I was like, no, I would like a Christmas markets themed trip.
Yes.
So I worked with them and also our local operator to develop this itinerary for Christmas markets, because I really just wanted to do a Christmas markets trip. And I thought that it would do really well. I thought that my community would love it. And turns out they did. And I'm doing 2 of them now back to back this year. I think I would actually probably have enough interest in doing 3, but unfortunately I only have so many weeks in the year to be able to go do these trips. But yeah, so I developed the itinerary and with their trip design team and with the local operator. And now what I really love is that this trip is available for other hosts to now also book and take their communities on. And a couple of hosts have taken advantage of that and are also running the same itinerary as well, alongside me next year with different dates, but like we'll all be doing Christmas markets trips with our communities, getting to share in that magic. So it's been fantastic. I'm also working on 2 other trips that are completely bespoke that I have created with Trova Trip for next year, which is Switzerland and Paris, that are going to be just awesome. Yeah, and they're completely like they're very much from scratch, like from my experience, because I've been to Switzerland 3 times, I've been to Paris 4 times, and it's basically like my top highlights where I think is like totally worthwhile, where I think you're going to get to the top of a mountain and cry, that sort of thing. So it's really, really cool to be able to like share these destinations with my community that means so much to me, that have literally changed my life, and getting to watch them discover that. So that's going to be a ton of fun. That's one of the reasons why I do a lot of repeat destinations. A few of my trips are places I haven't been to, but a lot of them are places that I have been to, and watching my community discover those places for the first time is just like, makes me cry, makes me tear up to watch them fall in love.
It's like seeing, I said this when I took my mom to London. It's like you get that feeling of what your parents must have felt like doing something so special with you for the first time. Like the first time you went to Disney World and you saw the castle, is that I think an easy example for people. And then like you get to watch other adults, other people do that, and it's just so magical. Okay, to really wrap us up, rapid fire here. Top 3 countries that you would recommend people going to, aka your top 3 favorite countries, because I would, if I asked you for one, it would be Japan. And then top 3 places you really want to go to that you have not yet been to.
Okay, so yes, top 3 countries that I love, that I also think are great for solo travel. So I love Japan. It's fantastic. I've been 5 times. I will not stop going. I will go all the time.
Love it.
I love France. I love Paris. I think if you really want to like romanticize your life and go on a trip, especially solo, like a lot of people are like, oh, that's so sad, you went to like the city of love by yourself. I'm like, no, it's absolutely incredible, because I love myself.
I love myself. Exactly.
I'm gonna go have afternoon tea at the Ritz. I'm gonna sit in a cafe. I'm gonna drink champagne. Like life is
sexy.
Good. It's so much fun.
And it's all a write-off.
Third one.
Oh, it's so hard to choose.
You can do it. I believe in you. Do I need to do the da na 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 na? I know it's so hard to decide.
Is it not Egypt? I would have thought Egypt.
I love Egypt. I wouldn't rank it as my top favorite places. I do think it's very magical. Like if you want to go to a place and like really feel insignificant in the world, Egypt is the place to go.
I mean, you're standing next to the pyramids. Yeah, of course.
What the aliens built.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that Egypt is like one of those great places where you get a lot of perspective on life and like the fragility of things, and like, third thing. It's really hard to choose because I absolutely love the Amalfi Coast, but also I just got back from Colombia and that was fantastic. That was such a good destination.
We'll give you
Colombia
4 then. We'll put them all
Colombia looked amazing. Colombia really made me want to go to Colombia. So I'll take that answer. Okay. 3 that you are dying to go to that you haven't been to yet.
Oh gosh.
Where am I going next? Tell me.
So all these I have booked. Is that okay?
Oh my God,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Especially
so-
if they're available that people can join you on, please tell us.
All right. Well, 2 of them are. So I am finally getting my last continent, which is Australia. So I've
Oh,
got
I
a
forgot that
trip
you've been to
across Australia.
Antarctica.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Australia, where are we going in Australia?
Well, I haven't planned it yet. I've got the tickets booked, and I know I'm landing and leaving from Sydney. But everything in between, I still need to sit down and plan out.
How long are
I
you going to
was
be there?
About a week. I wish I could stay longer, but it was like one of those things where I just kind of snuck it in between like my other stuff, and I just kind of like
Snuck in a trip to Australia across
Casual.
the world.
I
Snuck in
know,
that
I know.
20-hour flight.
There was a good deal on Delta.
Fair.
So I'm really excited for that. I was supposed to go in 2020, but obviously womp womp pandemic.
Classic.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. I'm really
I'm
lucky I didn't get
hilarious.
stuck over there. Because it was very close to still going.
You would have
Oh
never
my
gotten
God.
out. You would have been there for like
We'd
years.
still be there.
Yeah, probably. I would have an Australian accent by now. Oh my gosh. Anyway, and then the other 2 I have for next year, which are 2 group trips. I'm going to South Africa, which has been huge in my bucket list. I'm going cage diving with great white sharks. And you can come too.
I'm so jealous because that is like I love sharks. They're my favorite animal. And I've always wanted to go cage diving and I can't go on that trip. And I am so sad. So I will be living vicariously through you.
Oh, I need a POV. I need you to get a really good like POV inside of it.
Inside the shark? No.
Once the shark swallows you, please
That's
sure
true
to post on
dedication to
Instagram.
content.
Yes.
That was true dedication to content, though. If you're willing to
Put your head
like,
inside the
oh,
shark
yeah.
and put the phone in. Okay.
Well, the funny thing is because I'm running that trip twice, I'm actually going to be cage diving twice.
That's
Yeah.
See?
So the first time I'll probably just be like terrified. The second time I will now know my angles.
He'll be like, I'm a boss bitch. I know how to take photos with the sharks underwater.
Yeah.
You're selfieing. I just can imagine you and a shark just like,
Oh my God,
That's
I
the
can't
goal.
wait.
That's the goal. And
where else
hopefully
are we going?
Jordan.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I'm very excited about that. That's at the end of next year, at the end of September. And that is a trip that almost didn't happen because I was very picky about my hotel class. I really wanted upgraded hotels for that because I wanted like the glamping. I wanted it to be
Yeah.
like very, very
Yeah,
nice.
if you're gonna go to Jordan, fucking do it right.
So that was my big goal. But the thing is that Jordan's so popular right now that even though that trip is more than a year away, we were having trouble for 2 months locking down hotels. And in fact, I can only take 18 people, which is probably one of my smaller trips.
Wow.
And I
But
won't be
that's
able to do a
gonna be
second one.
so juicy. Like I can just
Oh, it's gonna be
imagine like,
incredible.
oh,
I'm
And it's
super excited.
it's so great for you in particular and for your community in particular because one, that's not a place people go a lot, and two, that is a place that so many people will say, well, it's not safe for women to go there. And you're gonna be like, really? Fuck around and find out.
fuck around and find. I fucking love that.
love so my goal has been to basically pick a destination that is intimidating to solo travelers or just travelers in general. And so that's what
Mhm.
Egypt was for this year. And that's what South Africa and Jordan are essentially for next year. Because I feel like those locations really do lend themselves well to a group trip. Because you are able to have that safety net of the group and of the local guide, and you do get to just sign up and enjoy. You don't have to worry about
Mhm.
trying to figure it out by yourself. You don't have to worry about like trying to figure out where to go or how to get transportation or like who to talk to, who you shouldn't talk to, because you've got the group. And so I want to open up the world to places that people might not necessarily consider, or they have a barrier against traveling to. So
Chloe is so emotional right now.
I just
Chloe
want
needs
to
to go on one
travel.
of these
I'm
trips.
so excited. No, you guys have no idea. I've been like, feel like I've been trapped in the freaking house since 2020 because I traveled a lot in college because they decided we're going to make Chloe like spokesman of my college. So they would send me everywhere. And I was like, yeah, a little Midwestern girl that's never been out of the country. Send me to Japan. Send me to Jamaica. I was like, send me everywhere. And now that like as an adult, it's so much harder to travel. you know,
Not if you
because
go
like we
with
have
Lindsay.
everything else going on. And so I'm just so excited because again, like what we do as money makers, I'm talking to you, by doing what we do, look at what we're afforded. Look at what we're able to do because we're not, you know, chained to a desk 9 to 5. Oh my God, I'm just so excited for London. Me and Emma are going to London. I'm so excited for LA. We're going to LA with the other stuff. Then I'm back in Austin. Like I'm moving. So then I'm back in Austin for our content camp. And then it's Christmas and it's going to be, I'm just like so excited for traveling.
I'm excited
This
for
is making
content
me
camp.
pumped. I'm so excited for content camp.
Content camp, baby.
Content camp. I'm excited.
Oh my God.
It's in my backyard,
So thrilled. I'm so excited that we all get to be together and I get a double dose of Lindsay this year. To wrap us up, finally, this is probably one of our longer episodes, but so juicy, so emotional, so much girl power, boss bitching, all the things. What would your top advice be to a moneymaker who is looking to take the leap into solo travel?
You don't have to start out big. You can start out by just like taking yourself out to lunch, going to like that museum that no one seems to have time to go with you to, even just going to like the next town over. Like you're still going to get all those benefits of being empowered by doing something on your own and not waiting for anyone else. And then you can work your way up to your comfort zone to either joining a group trip or going completely solo. Like you don't have to do the huge big thing. It doesn't have to be some monumental undertaking for your first solo trip. So I think that's the big thing. People think that they have to go to the other side of the world for those benefits, and you definitely do not.
I just got goosebumps. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Yes, I Make Money. You can find Lindsay everywhere at One Girl Wandering. Check out her group trips for next year. Make sure you are on the wait list because those suckers go fast, but also the wait list also works. Luke is no longer going to Germany and Austria for Christmas markets, so the spot opened up right there. And Lindsay, we cannot thank you enough for spending this time with us. Moneymakers, reminder that every Monday you're getting a new full-length episode. We are continuing with season 2 after our summer break. We have weekly crashes every Wednesday on whatever the fuck is broken this week. And we have also been going live every Thursday with our friends over at Philly Content Club. Those will be our co-hosts for Content Camp. We hope to see you there, and you'll get to meet Lindsay while you're at it. With that, have a great week, and we'll see you soon.